Hi everybody, Emi here with the Graveyard Shift Talk Show.
Everybody's going to the graveyard shift. This is what you wanna do. Everybody's going to the graveyard shift. See what Emi's got in store for you. Pop culture fandom, talking with celebrities, funny facts and fun giveaways. Anime and gaming, science fiction movies, ghost hunting, it's on today. Everybody's going to the graveyard shift. This is what you wanna do. Everybody's going to the graveyard shift. See what Emi's got in store for you. This is what you wanna do. Everybody's going to the graveyard shift. See what Emi's got in store for you. Everybody's going to the graveyard shift. This is what you wanna do. Everybody's going to the graveyard shift. See what Emi's got in store for you.
The Graveyard Shift Talk Show. See you later, bye.
Hi, my name is Emi. I'm the producer and host of the Graveyard Shift Talk Show, where you can find me hosting a wide variety of topics: pop and geek culture, movies, gaming, comics, and the paranormal, where we got our start. In this episode, I interview Athena Finger, a woman who's had quite a story to tell. Athena's grandfather is Bill Finger, the co-creator of Batman. Confused? Never heard of him? Don't be too surprised. It wasn't until recently that Bill got his well-deserved reward. Athena had to fight very hard so that her grandfather could get the recognition that he rightfully deserves. It wasn't until Bill, the Boy Wonder, a book by Mark Tyler Nobleman, came out, when Athena was contacted by Mark, and they decided to take up the fight and get Bill Finger to come back into the spotlight and have the connection with Batman in the public eye where it rightfully belongs. You can actually see the story of how Athena was able to get her grandfather's name added back into the credits of Batman by watching the documentary Batman and Bill, currently available exclusively on Hulu. Until then, why don't you sit back and enjoy watching this interview between Athena and I as we talk about her history and also the history of how she was able to get her grandfather's name into the public spotlight once again.
Hello everybody, this is Emi with the Graveyard Shift Talk Show, and I'm over here at Smoking Comics, where you can find all kinds of stuff, mostly gaming stuff, but they also have comic books. But they're doing a special sale here, so make sure you get here very quick. But I'm here with a very important lady, a very, very nice lady, Miss Athena Finger. And if you don't know already, why haven't you known? She is the granddaughter of Bill Finger, who you should know is the co-creator of Batman. That's right. You know, for many, many years, we've all had, it's kind of like the Mandela effect, sort of, except it's real. Don't yell. I'm sorry. This one is real. Some of them aren't. But this one, you know, for a long time, we thought Bob Kane was the sole person, and then
see, Bob Kane made sure that people thought it was just him.
Exactly.
But there was actually a team of people.
Yeah, and you know, all this time, Athena was around and alive, obviously, unless you're a ghost. And thanks to you know, a lot of people, especially writer Mark Nobleman, with his book Bill the Boy Wonder, which if you haven't gotten it yet, please do check it out.
It's a really good book.
Yeah,
definitely.
And it really is. And they made a documentary about this. Bill and Batman and Bill.
Batman and Bill. It's a Hulu exclusive, so if you don't have Hulu, you can always do the free trial for a month and
just watch it. Yeah, it's just the story about how Athena kind of regained the family connection with Batman, the legal official family connection. Of course, she always
Yes.
had the real connection. Is
Well,
pretty
yeah,
amazing. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. I mean, Batman was always known in my family as far as like what my grandfather did for the character and how he really molded the character into the character that we see now. But unfortunately, he wasn't credited for his writing for 76 years, even though he was known in the industry as a very influential comic book writer. And he created other characters other than just the Batman character. But that's the first one. That was the one that he really was passionate about. And he worked on the title for 25 years.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, tirelessly too. I mean, he was, according to what I've read and what I saw in the documentary, he was unbelievable workmanship.
Well, I mean, he truly was a man of his craft. He really wanted to tell stories, and he wanted to tell top-notch stories,
He did.
Not just rush it and be, yeah, it's okay. No, he wanted something that was of high quality every time he handed in a script. So,
and just so you guys understand, this isn't just, he thought of the name, or, okay, he just thought, it'd be cool if you had a cape. It wasn't just that.
No. Really, Bob Kane was the one who came up with the name Batman for this particular. I mean, there's been a lot of characters before Batman that came out that were Batmen type characters. Yeah. But Bob really, in response to the popularity of Superman, he wanted to make the money that Siegel and Schuster was making. So he came up with a Batman. But the Batman that he created and sketched up was in a bright red suit.
It was more like a bird.
And very stiff wings, blonde hair, a little domino mask.
Right. Like Robin.
Looked nothing like a bat, really. And so he knew that my grandfather wanted to write stories. I mean, they had already been working on Rusty and his pals together, because Bob already had an established studio in his parents' home. And so he brought his initial concept to Bill and said, let's create this over the weekend, and we got to get a story over to National so that we can, hopefully sell it.
National was the name of DC at the time. Correct?
Yes. Yeah. And so Bill said, well, if you're going to call something a bat, you got to at least make it look like a bat. So as the story goes, Bill took the dictionary, looked up a picture of the bat, said, this is what it needs to look like a little more. It needs to be darker. It can't be bright red. He's going to be spotted from far away. It's like, so he really said, okay, first of all, you need to change the color scheme to the blues, blacks, and grays. You want to make him a little more mysterious. Let's give him a cowl instead of the, domino mask. Let's white out the eyes so he's even more mysterious.
Right, we don't know who he is. We don't. Yeah.
Right. Instead of these stiff wings, let's give him a scalloped cape. Let's, give him, gloves with gauntlets and all the whole thing. It was completely changed.
And he did the symbol too, if I'm not mistaken. Am I correct? Or was that Bob that did that?
I'm not sure exactly the details about that part, but I mean, he could have definitely said there needed to be something there, to recognize him. Yeah. Well, I mean, Superman has a big S on his his chest.
There had to be something there, yeah.
Right. So, I mean, that would fit along with what they were trying to do. I mean, so then he changed the concept visually, and then being the writer, he came up with the names, he came up with the city of Gotham City, he came up with all the characters that we pretty much know and love.
Wow.
Commissioner Gordon, Catwoman, Penguin. He helped collaborate with the Joker character. I mean, the list is so long.
I mean, and already you guys listen to all of those things that he contributed to. I mean, honestly, that is a co-creator.
Yes.
That's not just somebody that came around and said, oh, you know what, let's just put pointy ears on the mask. This guy, your grandfather, really made Batman.
Well, the thing that's really sad is that, unfortunately, the industry was only putting one name on these titles. Right. And Siegel and Schuster, they were a special case where they had two people's names listed as the people doing Superman. But, Bob Kane had an opportunity at any point to add Bill's name.
Absolutely.
And he never did.
That's a shame.
Although he did admit in his own words in interviews that Bill, 60 to 75% of it came from him.
Yeah, they showed. If you want to watch the documentary, it's very interesting because there's several recordings, interviews of Mr. Kane, God rest his soul, that where he did admit that Bill did contribute a great deal of content. And just to clarify a little bit for some of the younger generation like us, 'cause we're young, and younger too.
Yes.
That back then, which you guys have to understand, and props to Kevin Smith on this because I know he said this in his podcast. Excuse me, talk show. Sorry, Kevin. Back then, a lot. What was happening was it wasn't like it was now, where if you create a comic book character now, it's such an iconic industry. I mean, look at the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Look at DC's expanded universe, whatever it's called. And back then it was okay. They hired you to do a project,
right? And
usually, if you wanted somebody to come along, it was common to have somebody help you with it.
Right.
And it was basically, they left it up to you whether, okay, whoever brought in the idea, that's who we're going to put on the book. Because quite frankly, they just did not have the time to sit there and say, okay, who thought of this? Who thought of that?
Well, they also didn't think of the longevity of these characters.
Yeah,
so
it was
it
like a
really
comic
wasn't
strip.
an issue for
Right.
them.
Yeah, it was like, Felix the Cat kind of comic strip.
Yeah.
Or, sorry, had to include that in there because we're both Felix fans. By the way, if you don't know who Felix the Cat is, shame on you. Go look him up.
Yes.
And his bag of tricks. And yes, there really is something called a bag of tricks. That's how you know I'm a real fan because I know what that is.
Yes. Do you know what the bag of tricks actually represented?
No, I do not know this. Sorry, guys. Segue. I gotta know this. I just thought it was like where he had stuff coming.
No,
up.
the bag of tricks actually represented a bag of heroin because most of the artists were heroin addicts. So the bag of tricks was what they would keep their paraphernalia and their drugs in.
Get out of... Sorry, but that is amazing. I'm just blowing my mind right now. And I believe this because remember back then cartoons were not necessarily for kids.
No, they were.
I mean, look at Bugs Bunny, for crying out loud. He used to swallow dynamite, and back now we think
he was a cross-dresser. I mean, so many different things with Bugs Bunny. I mean, come on.
Bugs Bunny's awesome. But anyway, I don't know how we got to Bugs Bunny from Batman, but anyway.
All right, we're coming back to Batman.
Anyways, as I was saying about Elmer Fudd now. This is what happens when you get two similar personalities in the same room. So when they were doing that, so then I guess some of the fans might wonder, well, why didn't Bill? Did he fight for it? Did he fight for his rights on it?
It wasn't until much later that he started publicly saying what he did with the Batman character. He was an artist. He was a writer. That's what he was consumed with. I've been told that he was definitely hurt and upset that he didn't get the notoriety for this character. But again, the industry was a certain way. This was of the norm for the industry. So he kind of just accepted it. And it wasn't until the 60s when Jerry Bells was like, we know you exist. We know that Bob Kane couldn't have done all of this stuff himself.
Now, this gentleman you were saying, that was the head of DC at the time? Or
No, he wrote Alter Ego, and he had a fan book. And, he looked for Bill, and when he found him, he's like,
this
listen.
was the interview that...
Yes.
Okay, I know what you mean.
And so, he really was like, the fans want to know. Like, they want to know the truth. We know that it wasn't just Kane who did everything himself. It's impossible for one person to write the story, draw it, ink it, color it, like, do everything. Like, it's impossible for one person to do that. It really is.
It is.
I mean, if you think of the amount of people that
I'm
involved.
smiling because I'm thinking about all the work that's taken. I mean, even with me with doing my book, I'm doing the pencils, I'm doing some of the inks, but there's no way I could do the coloring. First of all, I don't even know how.
So I
It's
mean,
it's not possible.
so that's the thing is like, so in the 60s is when, he started to talk about his role in the industry, and not with just Batman. I mean, Bill wrote for Superman. He wrote the first Kryptonite story. He's the one that actually knocked Superman off his pedestal and brought him down to Earth, literally.
That's a serious character moment. That's a milestone. It's a serious milestone.
That was my grandfather. I mean, he really was about the human condition and being a human and not having... And that's one of the things that, makes Batman so wildly popular, is that he is a human. He's not a mutation. He's not an alien.
He doesn't have powers other than being rich.
Right. So, I mean, he's just a guy with a lot of money and a really strong brain.
Right.
And
in peak physical condition. So to speak.
Well, yeah. I mean, and that was really what Bill wanted for his characters. I mean, he created... the Green Lantern. The Green Lantern was a human. It was just a regular guy, and then, something of an outside source, yes, gave him this ability, but it was a ring. It was a lantern. It was, it wasn't the person himself. The person himself was still a human.
I didn't know that Bill worked on the Green Lantern.
He was the co-creator.
He was the co-creator, because I met Mort. No, I want to say Nodell.
Yep.
And that's amazing that he worked with Mort.
Yep.
Actually,
he also worked with Erwin Hansen and created the Wildcat character.
That's unreal. That's unreal.
I mean, and he didn't just write for National DC. He wrote for Marvel. He wrote for all of the titles.
I did not know he wrote for Marvel.
He did. He worked wherever he could get the work. I mean,
think about that. Just listen to what she's saying, and just think about how much work we're talking about here. I mean, this gentleman wrote this stuff. And all of these things, and we're not just talking about one book at a time. I would not be surprised if they were giving him several titles and say, okay, you have a deadline of such and such, and he would have to do it.
I'm sure, and especially if you're working for multiple titles or multiple companies, I'm sure that there were, overlapping with the stories that he was creating. But, he wasn't just a comic book writer. He was one of the first to jump from the comic medium and wrote for TV and wrote for radio and wrote a movie. And he used to write for the Army. And he used to, I mean, literally,
a man of many talents.
The work wherever he could get it, because
he was
poor.
Yeah.
He was destitute.
Wow.
I mean, he was not known or famous and didn't get.
And he should have been. And he should have been.
I mean, when he passed away, he had an eviction notice on his door.
That's really. I saw that, and I just could not believe a man of that caliber had that. I mean, that's it. And
it's
that's
heartbreaking.
It is. But that's why it's so important that we tell his story now, and that you're carrying his legacy on, and that you're telling his story. I know it's hard. I know it is. But
it is, but at the same time, I like to celebrate it. I like to meet the fans. I like to not focus on so much on the negative part of the history.
Right.
I like to interact with the fans, because without the fans, we wouldn't be here where we are with the comic industry. I mean, really, they're the ones that have made it last for almost 80 years for Batman and 80 years for Superman. Sure. And that's really what I try to focus on. I mean, I still have a hard time watching the documentary. I cry every time I see it, but
it teared me up. I have to be honest with you. It really did.
That's because it's my family.
Sure.
And I lost my dad when I was 15. So when I see my dad, it's all kinds of emotions coming in.
They talk about this on the documentary, by the way. They talk about Mark, the author of the book, that he's in. It's actually, the documentary is about his journey to start her journey.
Yes.
And it's an amazing story. It really is. I know. I'm sorry I keep saying that, but it really is. And the way that I'm just gonna say this one thing, and I don't want to spoil anything else. There is one point where it looks like it's a dead end, where it looks like he doesn't find anybody connected with Bill, and then he finds you.
Right. Well,
I mean, what?
DC's always known about me.
See, this is the part that blows me away.
They
knew about you this whole time.
They knew about me. After my father passed away, I received a package from them with these 2 signed limited edition books with a letter saying, we, are celebrating what your grandfather's contributions are to this. And so they've always known that I've existed. It's just that the rest of the world, comic world, had no idea. They just assumed that it ended with my dad because my dad was bisexual and then gay when he passed away. But he was married. He had a kid.
Yeah, he did. Right here. You're proof of that.
I mean, we're talking the 70s. People were all over the place,
back then. And, it's amazing because the fans might be wondering, so, if DC knew about you, why didn't we see all these Batman movies with Bill's name on it? I'd hate to put you on the spot like that.
The problem with that is that, they held on to their contract with Bill, which nobody's ever seen the contract, and that's what they, we can't do it because of the contract that we have with the Kane estate or with Bob Kane himself. So it was something that we were discouraged from pursuing. One, because of that, but also we were always told that it was going to cost a lot of money to pursue it.
Sure.
And, my family's not rich. That's the reality of the situation.
That's the way it is with a lot of people.
So, for a long time, for 15 years, I didn't even tell anyone. Wow. But, maybe a handful of people who I was and what my connection to the Batman legacy was. It was, I used to refer to it as the dark cloud that followed me around.
I remember you saying that in a documentary.
But it's true. It literally, being a college student and then teaching college and having a child and seeing his classmates, Batman's literally everywhere.
Yeah.
And I used to hate seeing the Batman logo or anything that had to do with Batman.
Yeah.
Because it was a constant reminder of, you got to deal with this. This is something that you need to deal with in some way. It can't just, be swept under the rug. So when Mark did find me, he had to push me to pursue it.
And that's amazing that he did that. He didn't really know you at the time. He was just this person that came across and really shows compassion on his part.
He did, and he was so gentle about it because he could see that there was a lot of pain within the family with the issue also. After my father passed away, the rights were stolen by somebody, and then they were stolen by another person, and then when I came along, it was like, well, I've been having conversations with you since my father passed away in 92. Why couldn't we have resolved this then, as far as, and what I'm referring to is, when Paul Levitz took over DC Comics, he recognized that a lot of these old-timers were screwed, and that the families were screwed, and so he started, giving them quote-unquote royalties for reprints and things like that. So all of that was stolen from my family after my dad passed away. And so, that's where that 15-year, not wanting to deal with it came in.
Sure.
I was hurt. I was angry. I didn't know what avenue to take. I was 16 when, just shy of 16 when my dad passed away.
Wow,
legally,
sorry.
I couldn't do anything at that point.
Right.
And, again, being discouraged from actually pursuing anything because, it's going to cost millions of dollars and this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah.
So,
But it has a happy ending, though.
It does.
You went to see Batman versus Superman.
Yes.
And they had
his name there. Now, do you know, other than in the TV show?
Okay, I cannot wait to hear this.
Do you know which show his name first appeared after he got official credit?
Don't tell me.
Because, yes, his name was in the movie, but it came out on TV before the movie came out.
Gotham?
Nope, dang it. It was supposed to be Gotham.
It was before Gotham.
Yeah.
Oh, man, this is killing me. This was a show.
It was a show.
Hold on, guys. Give me a second here. Can't be Justice League.
No.
That's a movie. Oh, my gosh. I don't know.
Robot Chicken.
Robot Chicken? I would never have guessed that. robot chicken.
So
Thank
Seth
you,
Green
Seth Green.
is a huge Batman.
Seth Green, you're awesome.
He is awesome, and I love him for a lot of different reasons. I love his work, first of all.
He's
but,
hilarious.
you know, he actually has a picture of him at San Diego Comic-Con like many, many years ago with a little Bill Finger button on his hat.
Really?
And I'm like, oh my God, I love you even more.
That is so awesome.
And so Gotham at the time was a Monday night show, and so that's when Bill's name was supposed to first appear with official credit, with the, you know, created by Bob Kane with Bill Finger. But that Sunday night at midnight, which is technically Monday,
Right.
Seth Green was doing his DC.
So it was before.
Yes.
And you know what? I'm sorry. Do you see thank you for doing that. But you know what? I'm glad that it was him first. Because,
so am I.
Yeah, because especially knowing that he had that love for Bill.
For Bill. I had no idea that
Yeah.
he even knew who Bill was or
That's
anything.
awesome.
And that's the kind of wild thing that I've gone through coming into this scene and meeting the fans and meeting people in the industry and stuff, is that I thought no one knew of my grandfather other than like the diehards,
Right.
you know.
Right.
But like to come out and see that, yes, people know about him and
Sure.
knew about him, and not just people in the industry, people who are real fans of the character and wanted to know the real history behind this character that they have built their life upon. Because some of these people, they literally have built their life upon the mythos of Batman.
It's worldwide. It's known. It's one of the only characters, one of the only names that if you go pretty much anywhere in the world and you say Batman, they say, "Oh yeah, I know who that is."
Yes.
Or even just showing the logo, people know, "Oh, that's Batman."
Yes.
It's amazing how well known that character is.
Like in its own like category.
Yep.
Almost.
I agree. It's in a bat category. a bat-category.
But seriously, I mean, it's kind of a phenomenon what has happened with that culture just within the Batman character.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just been, you know, I think I mentioned this in the documentary too, but I've learned about my family history from complete strangers.
Wow. I don't know.
Which is wild.
I don't know how I would feel about that.
Well, I appreciate it because I never met Bill. Bill passed away before I was even a concept.
Sure.
So, I mean...
You weren't Robin yet.
But it's true.
If you think about it, that's what she would be. Because her dad is Batman.
It would not be Robin, it would be Damien.
Come on,
right? Get it right.
High five, girl, that's it.
Not bad for a girl that doesn't read comics,
That's right. That's right. We at least know who Damien is. At least we know that.
Oh, that's funny.
Thank you. Oh my goodness.
But you know, I welcome the information. I want people to tell me their stories and their experiences if they've met them or if they know some kind of tidbit of history or something like that about my family. Because,
awesome.
Again, my father passed away when I was young. I never met my grandfather. My grandmother passed away when I was, you know, also a teenager. So there was really no one there. And Bill was estranged from his family. So I can't even go to his side of the family and be like, hey, tell me. Because they hated the fact that he went into the comic industry.
Oh my god!
They wanted him to be a doctor or whatever.
Well, back
you
then,
know?
yeah.
And so, and that's not what he was passionate about. He wanted to create wonderful stories. That
right,
people...
Mom? Love you. Sorry. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist.
It's all good, because parents are always like, you gotta do this,
parents
not
just
that.
don't understand, right? So I guess now my final question to you is, you mentioned it at the time being a dark cloud, so can we put that to rest? Can we say it's no longer a dark cloud?
Oh, it's no longer that way. I mean, like I said, I do celebrate the
That's
character
wonderful.
with
That's
the
good.
fans now, because really, I mean, we achieved the goal. My goal was to get the history correct. The history was wrong for so long.
Yeah.
For 76 years, it was wrong.
76.
I mean, that's a long time. So, you know, it's that cloud is now pretty rainbows and sunshine.
It's a white night.
Yeah,
Hey.
maybe. No, we like the Dark Knight.
Yeah. Is she not Batman's granddaughter or what? So, Athena, what I understand, you just had an appearance at Tampa Comic-Con. Where else
Yes.
can the fans find you?
The next big convention that I'm doing is Rhode Island Comic Con in the first weekend of November.
Okay.
I'm doing some smaller ones local here in Florida. I'm doing Space Coast in the beginning of September.
That's a nice one, yeah.
I'm actually doing an event this weekend at the Orlando Science Center.
Okay.
I think I have some other ones. I'm doing one in Claremont in October, I believe. I don't know. There's so many. I can't keep them all straight.
No, that's okay. And so if someone wants to find, well, first of all, she's on my Facebook page. If you got, I share her stuff all the time. But if someone wants to, of course, you're on Facebook. But
I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter and Instagram. So you just put in my name and it comes up.
It'll come up. So there you go. So Athena, I want to thank you so much for your time, and I don't want to keep the throngs of people that are in this store waiting.
Okay.
Because there's so many people here that it's like
I know
so
they all want
loud.
to talk to me. What can I say?
I know,
I'm popular,
right? That's it. So we're terrible. We're terrible. So thank you so much for taking the time, guys. Next time I will be interviewing Michael Petrus, from Nanit's Universe. It's a groundbreaking comic book app that literally makes you experience the comic book you're reading.
Oh, wow.
You would be interested in this because, Michael, I'm going to look at who I'm talking about to who.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did I say that right?
No, it doesn't matter.
Soy cubano.
We all know.
No entiendo inglés. Oh my goodness. I want the taco.
No, you want lechon.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Oh my God.
Where's my yuca?
Yes. Oh wow, that is really accurate. See, I'm hungry.
Me too.
Oh my goodness. So Nanit's is when you're reading it. It actually has sound effects. It actually has it's really cool. Like if let's say the hero's in a back alley, you will hear back alley sounds. You'll hear a cat or a dog or I don't know.
Wow, so it's kind of
water.
like a 4D type of experience where it's bringing in all of the sensories. That's awesome.
It really is. I mean, I don't know if all the books are going to have this, but I'm if you just go on
even
their
if
website,
it's one page, that's freaking awesome.
I think it's really cool. I think it really gives a new dimension to the reading. So if you guys want to learn more about it, go to Nantis. It's N as in Nancy, A as in Apple, N as in Nancy, ITS Universe.com. It's an app. I believe you can download it now. Michael's going to be on next time, and he was going to talk to us more about it. So anyway, that's going to be next time, guys. Athena, thanks again.
Thank you. This was
Anytime.
fun.
This was a blast. Guys, thanks again for watching the Graveyard Shift Talk Show. I'll see you next time. Athena Finger. Bye.